Is a second chance simply not enough for you? Do you make mistakes so frequently that you're regularly contacted by concerned loved ones? Perhaps they remind you to chew your food before swallowing, or to put on your going outside helmet. Maybe they've abandoned you altogether because your existence is accompanied by catastrophe. Well, if you are incredibly quick to making terrible decisions, for once in your life you may just be in luck. The only requirements today will be Space Marine 2 and a pulse. The latter is optional. The Bulwark is, fortunately for you, idiot-proof. Through a mixture of jank and perks, the incredible has occurred. Simply being alive in a general area will create tremendously adverse effects for all those around you, something I'm sure some of you can relate to deeply in your personal lives. Well, speaking of personal lives, the Bulwark is incredibly bipolar. So much so that it can even put a few of my exes to shame, which is pretty impressive because I make poor choices and have horrible taste. When you play Bulwark, you have two main lanes, foolproof or belligerent. Foolproof is predicated upon intense crowd control. This is built up with status effects and damage over time. Although it's focused on eliminating swarm units, it is very effective in fighting elites as well. Oddly enough, you will be the most effective when surrounded by enemies. Belligerent will have you center your perks upon face tanking and self-sustain. This is going to be preferable for the more stubborn combatants out of you. Much like Chris Brown's girlfriends, your strength will come from the ability to get punched in the face repeatedly without falling over. Neither of these are difficult. It's like comparing a walk in the park to a stroll by the creek. More on them later. Bulwark is a wonderful class if you want the fun of melee, but you're also a bit of a pantophobic little fawn. In simpler terms, play this if you want to win fistfights, but you're also kind of a pussy. Well, now that all the Bulwarks are taken aback, let's go ahead and tell them how to do their jobs. I'm sure this won't bother them at all. Few things first. There is weird shit going on with the Bulwarks. Your banner will randomly jam contested health enemas right up your ass just because. This ties into a perk that you can get later in the leveling cycle, but it also sort of just happens when you don't even have it equipped. You also regain full health when you interact with loadout modules. I don't know why the fuck this happens. It's just kind of a thing that happens. Like having a weird uncle or a phase where you tried to play the guitar, it's just a part of life, really. Actually, that's not true at all. I learned how to play the guitar. My uncles are dope as hell. Oh shit, what's a true constant in life? Not taxes, because you can evade those. Not death. I'm pretty sure if you drink enough Sunny D, you can outrun the Reaper any day of the week. Oh, I got one. Strippers having daddy issues. Whatever, look, you get the idea. Bulwarks get their health back all the time, whether the cause be fraudulent or not. You're also going to find yourself being very handsomely rewarded when you hit parries. I'm not exactly sure why this is, but the designers of this class were operating under the impression that hitting a parry was a difficult task. Realistically, I think some of these perks should have been shuffled on off to the Vanguard. Maybe then the little bastard would stop trying to suffocate himself with a plastic bag over his head. The poor guy is walking around with 2 armor bars like some kind of cockroach with none of the durability advantages. Okay, now let's say you completely fuck it up, you miss the parry. That doesn't matter either. You have a giant margin of error for your shield to just get thrown up at the last minute and block the damage. You see, even when you fail with the Bulwark, you still end up winning. Now, far be it from me to cast aspersions, but I'm going to go ahead and do exactly that anyway. I think developers thought it not only possible, but inevitable that Bulwarks were going to constantly trip over their own feet. Either that or they're getting a whole lot of happy coincidences. Alright, that's why it's foolproof, but let's go ahead and try to remove the fool from some Bulwark players, even though it's probably about as futile as drowning a fish or sweeping sun off the sidewalk, but we're going to try it anyway. First thing you're going to do in this class is go ahead and gain some cool points. You're going to do that by getting a power sword, and not just any power sword, a power sword with fencing. That's right, contrary to popular belief, your job isn't even about blocking. Even if it was, that's what the shield is for. As for the perks, it depends on if you're doing foolproof or belligerent. Foolproof is going to have you grab anything relating to shock fields and damage over time. And then you're going to invest in the speed stance of the sword. Actually, you're going to do that with both. Here's why. Heavy stance is for clearing waves of swarm enemies. The shock fields already make them dead enough. Light stance will be for killing the elite enemies that remain. For belligerent, you're going to focus on stagger prevention as well as restoration for armor and contested health. You have to learn how to fight before doing this one. You cannot go straight into headbutting enemies to death if you have the unfused skull of an infant. This stands even if you transition over from a melee class. Take some time learning the power sword. The mechanics are known to feel weird as hell at the beginning, and as per usual, use whatever pistol you want, who gives a damn. With equipment out of the way, we can talk actual playstyle. Obviously, if your teammate is screaming and crying for a banner, you can use it to fix their mistakes. Or you could not give a shit. You are completely allowed to use your banners selfishly, and some people don't like it when you use the banner for yourself. Well, some people are clueless. Each class is strong in their own way, and you get to choose the difficulty you walk in on. They shouldn't view you as an insurance policy for their dipshittery, so don't let them. If they want to get risky while not having the ability to back it up, tell them to go find a Guardian relic. If you absolutely have to support your team, get the Rejuvenating Effect, Advanced Conditioning, and Invigorating Icon class perks. Banner will revive and have them at a full bar of contested health for a while. Then just have them hit a finisher and they'll refill all that contested health. Do not, I repeat, do not pair these with rapid regeneration. Also, I don't know where else to put this. If a ranged unit is firing at you, put up your shield and run at it. That's it. That's the whole way to kill a ranged unit. Now I can finally elaborate on those archetypes I mentioned earlier. Foolproof is as the name would suggest. Invest in dot damage perks. If you don't know what that stands for, it means damage over time. In this instance, it applies to shock. The gameplay is very simple. Plunge yourself deep into the heart of an enemy swarm and fight competently. It is very important that you just remember to stay in the middle of the storm you created. Your goal is drag all of the enemies onto you and activate your area denial perks. Swarm units are going to keep flooding in, and they will keep dying immediately so long as you are doing that. If you get too aggressive and push out of the circle, your effectiveness will plummet. Simply hold your position and muscle out incoming elites. The rest sorts itself out. This is best utilized against the Tyranids. But what about chaos, you ask? Well, my sweet summer child, that's a fantastic question, and I have a fantastic answer for you. That is where the belligerent model comes into play. The belligerent model is tailor-made to fight shit that is hard to kill. Case in point, me fist-fighting a hive tyrant. For this, you are going to need to invest heavily in damage mitigation and armor restoration, particularly the Bulwark's final class perk. The whole idea is centered around confronting elite units head-on, and you can feel free to do this now, because so long as you have armor, you get hit with a stagger and just go, "It must have been the wind." By enabling yourself to go full crash out, you can blitz the enemy out of existence, and when that happens, you execute and gain enough armor to do it to the next one. You will repeat this process until your opponents look like they were run over by the entire Toyotathon display showcase. Along with all the other damage mitigation perks, as well as your banner, every fight devolves into the following. I'm gonna need each and every one of you to go ahead and take a number, and I will kill you when I get around to it. We have covered the majority of what we're going to cover today in terms of tactics. Stay here, there's a little bit more. This is just a brief intermission. It's not an ad read or anything, it's helpful. I would like to take a moment to address something that I've noticed. I want to save this for a full video of nonsense gripes in the future, so I'll keep it brief. If someone says, "This class isn't strong, the Melta can kill things way faster," feel free to go ahead and forward this statement to them. Hey there, Dicknip, congratulations. You have used the freedom of expression provided by internet forums to self-report that you are boring as fuck. I would insult you further, but I know nothing I could say would hurt you more than that one time you accidentally ate seasoned food. I will be sure to send you a gift basket containing white rice and a loaf of great value brand whole wheat bread if the Melta ever gets tweaked and you actually have to learn something, you human piece of copying paper. I enjoyed that thoroughly. Thank you for humoring me. Back to our regularly scheduled programming. First, how you can assist a Bulwark, and second, how they can cooperate with other classes. Helping a Bulwark is not too different than helping an Assault player. The Bulwark, more than anything else, will serve as the center of the team's orbit. Let them be a massive strobe light for the enemy's attention. If you play range, give them a hand and take out whatever is inevitably trying to shoot at them. If you play melee, just as you would want them to do, stay the hell out of their business and they should stay out of yours. If you spend half the game tripping over one another, it sucks for everybody. On to complementary classes. Tactical. You're not going to get an incredible amount of use from tactical scans, I'll be real with you. Most of the times you just end up killing an enemy half a second faster. However, the tactical class is a bit like water. It's very good at conforming to whatever shape you want it to fill. So, even if the positives aren't incredible, there's never really a negative to bringing a tactical anywhere. Assault. Assault and Bulwark have a ton of complementary class perks. With the Bulwark, contested health extension, and the Assault's additional gunstrike damage, combined with their matching gunstrike perk, it makes them the best tag team in the business. They would be my top 2 picks for teammates in any boss fight, unless, of course, it's a fucking neurothrope. Crack grenades, people. Crack grenades. Vanguard. If I'm keeping it a buck, this can go either way. Most of these guys like to run the Melta, so it means 2 things. They're either going to be a hindrance to your existence, or your job gets way easier. Ideally, they're just going to thin the swarm units and occupy elites around you. Just make sure you both have the situational awareness to not crash into one another. Sniper. Same as with every other melee class, snipers are fantastic at coverage. A good sniper is going to let you be the best distraction you can be while setting up executions all around you. Sniper is a pretty safe enhancement class for literally everyone. Heavy. A heavy player is generally pretty considerate about bulwarks. They don't try to take executions, they'll kill your distant targets, and they'll ground anything in the air for you. You can't really ask for much more than that. That's all we gotta mention about the Bulwark today. This is a fantastic class with one of the lowest barriers to entry paired with a very high skill ceiling. You can start off with this class, do a mediocre job, and no one will ever ask you to change. Let's do a quick recap. You get the sword because swords are friggin' dope. You choose between crowd control or targeted harassment. And then you win the game as long as you, as in you the user, don't literally die halfway through. And that's it. That's the whole experience. Hopefully, if you're a Bulwark player, you weren't too disturbed by some statements I made. But with that being said, thank you for watching. As always, feel free to join the Discord gaming server if you're old enough, and have a good night.